Okay, this has been quite a video event to get to. So I have actually 2 days behind now, and I need to catch up because I want to do one for every day of the year, 365 days. So I'm going to do two pickups right now. This will be the first of two videos. Um, they won't go up exactly the same time because I'm going to have to record this one and then record the other one. But so in this one, I want to talk about an experience in my life that now, as I reflect on it, I realize the mistakes I made, and I'm glad that my neediness or need for approval or validation did not lead me down the dark road that so many people go down. I think it was because, in good conscience, I knew the difference between right and wrong, and I knew when I had gone further than was appropriate. Um, so let me just tell you the story, and then we'll move on from there. So um, basically, when I was in my mid early 20s, um, I had didn't I was obviously still sight impaired, and hang on, I don't know what's going on with my camera here, my phone here. The thing is not responding properly. 1 second here. See if I can get it to respond a little bit better. Here, like that's better. Maybe it'll respond better like that. Sorry about that. Okay, so I was still self-conscious to some degree, even though I had been, successful and able to do parts in movies and things like that, which you would think would give someone confidence. I'm still. It just tells you how your ego can be damaged in other ways behind the scenes. You can think someone's like, oh, look, they're doing movies or acting in movies and getting some decent sized parts. How could they have a self confidence issue? But of course I did, because I didn't. I I had decided at some point that the validation of me, and I know where it comes from. It comes from, feeling like you have to, seeing people I knew and care about deeply, feel like that they thought they needed a sighted person to make them feel like they were validated and that they were worthy. Um, and I confused that as being truth to myself as well. So I'd only been with a couple of people at that point. One was someone I had known for years, um, and we got together. Um, it's more complicated. I won't get into it in this particular video, but I got together with this person, and we sort of filled that need for each other. And then the next person I was with was someone who I actually met on the internet. It was just a random hookup, and it wasn't necessarily because I was super attracted to them or they were super attracted to me. It was just more of a need, and we both kind of used each other for those particular moments for needs and to feel validated. And so I still had that deep need to feel validated. I wanted to be with a woman who wanted me, a woman who was, quote unquote, aesthetically pleasing to other people, was pretty, was nice, that could see, that was educated. And I thought that would make me feel validated. So, and I also really genuinely cared for her. So I met this lady, we'll call her Elle. I met her under sort of what would be an intense circumstance. And I don't mean, a national disaster, a natural disaster, or anything like that. What I'm talking about is we met under these sort of stimulating circumstances where there was a short film that she and several other people had shot, and they were going to do a premiere. And we ended up going to this. We all paid a little bit to get in on going in this limo, right? And if you've never been in a limo before, it was like, oh wow, that's good. I'm gonna be in a limo. That make me feel cool. So I was dressed up in my little outfit and getting this limo with these folks, and felt, oh, okay, great, going in this limo and all this stuff like that. And met Elle in the car, even though she wasn't the one I was originally interested in. I ended up, meeting up with her. She gave me her number, and we ended up going out and started dating. And I had a really nice time with her. She's a very smart lady. I really enjoyed my time with her, but I wasn't ready for that kind of a relationship. And what occurred was we were in one of those situations where we were kind of hard and fast together. We spent all of our time together. All of a sudden, she wasn't doing the things she needed to do. I wasn't getting done all the stuff I wanted to do. We were just sort of overwhelmed by the moment. Hi, baby. And as a result of being overwhelmed, say hi to the bear. Oh, bear, put you in the eye. I'm so sorry, baby. So sorry. Say hi to the bear. There's the bear. There's the bear. He's so handsome. He's so handsome. He's so handsome. Such a special boy. My baby bear. Beautiful boy. I love you, baby bear. So we were overwhelmed by the time together, and he got his ball. He got his ball. He's very happy because he has his ball. Oh, come here, come here. Let me see. Oh. Ball. He just wants to play. It's 3 a.m. Central Time, by the way. Okay, so we got overwhelmed by the moment, and we got into, we got over, hi, buddy. I have to play right now. It's 3 a.m, buddy. But anyways, he's just such a play. He's just such a happy boy. He just wants to play. Every day, every time. Every day, every time. He's got so much love and life in him. He's such a love and life. Such a love and life. He is so cute. He's so special. He and his bro. His bro's over there. Hi, baby lion. Okay, so Elle and I got caught up in the moment, and a lot of things were going on for both of us at the time. Okay, so I was directing my first, really, it wasn't my first movie to direct. It was the first one that I actually completed the filming of. I started shooting another one years earlier, but I didn't complete it. Didn't know how to do all that. But finally was getting ready to shoot. So I met her in April. As I recall, it was April. And I started, I met her in, late April. And we started shooting in early June. So we kind of, at first, we were, looking for moments to get together. Maybe in early May we met of 2004. But we were getting ready to shoot Faith and Bullets in June of 2004. And we got totally enamored with each other. She was an actor and I was an actor director, and I was shooting Faith and Bullets with David and all this other great people, Andrew and Angela and who else did we have on the crew? We had a bunch of people. Ray was on there. Oh gosh, Leticia was the makeup artist. Tara, who was a friend of mine, who I actually knew as a result of the original person who started helping me, named Angela. Keith McMahon, he's very good, did marketing. All these wonderful people that started helping us, and Faith and Bullets is a whole other story. I need to tell that story in a different film, or a different vlog, a different vlog. Anyways, but I met Elle under those intense circumstances. So while I was shooting Faith and Bullets, she was, acting, and we started becoming, very passionate together and the whole thing. And then we were staying like that all the way through the ending of shooting of Faith and Bullets, which took, about a month. And then we were together for less than 6 months. We were probably together for more like 4 or 5 months, which shows you the staying power. We were not in the same place and the same needs in life, but we got into the relationship. And then in July, we went out to her grandparents' ranch, and we went fishing, and some fun fishing stories, a fun fishing story I have from that experience. But when the relationship started to cool was I wasn't doing as much anymore. And so I didn't have that validation, anything significant was going on, and that I wasn't significant anymore. And my ego got in the way of me, and I felt like other things were kind of drifting away from me. The film wasn't being shot anymore. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with the editing. I was kind of feeling like, okay, now I had hit a brick wall. And so my relationship with her started to falter, and I was struggling to hold on to something for that validation. And even though she tried reasonably to take space from me, I was like, no, we can work it out. We can work it out. We can work it out. Which the way to work it out was to just leave her alone. And if we were going to stay together, we were going to stay together and work it out. If we weren't going to. But I was, determined to believe that the way to resolve it was to work it out, talk it out, spend time together. And it was overwhelming for her. And to the point where at some point prior to the relationship falling apart, she had left her other apartment community and moved over to the same community I was at, but in a different apartment. Okay. And when she moved over into that different apartment, and then things started going rough between us, there would be occasions where I had never done this before in my life, where while I was living in the community before, I was with her, I would walk. There was a sidewalk that ran the length of the area for where the cars would park in front across from the building, right? Some cars could park in front of the building, and then there was a little parking area directly across from the buildings, and she normally parked there. And then so in the time when I knew she would be getting off work, I would walk back and forth up and down that path, hoping that I would see her, right? Hoping, okay, well, I'd really like to see her, and I'd like to spend, I was hoping that she would see me and see me depressed and go, oh, what's wrong? And, and entertain me so that I could feel like we could finally be connected and all that. And she came up to me one time and she was like, are you ignoring me? And I wasn't ignoring her because, quite frankly, I'm a sight impaired, so I only knew when she was there when I saw her car and I saw she was there. But I kept walking back and forth on that thing. And now in retrospect, I know that was creepy, and it was probably kind of scary to her, not knowing what the hell I was doing walking back and forth in front of an area where she was going to park. Now, mind you, it doesn't change the reality that I was doing it. It was inappropriate. It was wrong. But I was, blind. So, I was not, significantly sight impaired enough to where nothing I did, unless I was in like super close contact, I could have done anything, nor did I want to do anything. What I really wanted was for her to do something, meaning I wanted her to see me moping and her to feel bad for me, and for her to, I wanted basically pity. I wanted pity and someone to validate me because I felt bad that I wasn't getting, that I had lost all this stuff and now I was losing my relationship with her. And it really didn't become about her anymore. It became about my sense of needing to be validated as a person. And that was one of the things that made the relationship fall apart. Now, we did have those little, moments where we would come back together, but the problem wasn't healed because I still wasn't healed and realizing that I needed to let the relationship happen if it was going to happen. Now, she and I both had our own responsibilities, and I'm sure there's things she could look back on and think that she wished she had done differently. But these are the things I know that I wish I had done differently. I wish I had just respected her enough and myself enough to just say, oh, look, the relationship is faltering. If it's not going to survive, it's not going to survive. I'm going to be here and say, look, call me if you want to talk. We can get together. We can go have dinner, and, we can try and go do some fun stuff together. And, we can try and see if we can make things work out. And if it did, it didn't. But I didn't do that. I got caught up in it. So I would call her ridiculous numbers of times. I over-exaggerated things I thought were happening. I thought she was, something was happening to her and whatever, and I wanted to save the day. And she would, think, oh, he saved me. He's such a good man. I was deluded in it because I was in so much pain at the moment. Now, eventually, she said that the one thing that really tore me apart, and even for a couple of years after this, I thought, well, maybe one day I'll re-encounter her and she'll see me and she'll go, oh, Kingsley, I'm so sorry about what happened back then, and we would reunite and it would be magic and flowers and all that jazz, but that didn't happen. But the one thing she told me that was necessary to tell me that that even though it took a while to settle in my head, that finally was necessary for me to hear, was she told me she didn't want to talk to me for the rest of either of our lives. And that was fair. That was right. That's the way it should have been. I needed to just let her go. And I needed to focus on getting my brain in the right perspective and having the right attitude about relationships, and not realizing that whether I'm with someone who's blonde or brunette or, you know, classically beautiful or, beautiful in their own right or whatever, I need to be happy because I'm happy in my life. And then a relationship is just a bonus to that. Instead of being happy because I have someone, I need to be happy and have someone. Does that make sense? That a relationship with someone is not what makes you happy. The relationship you have with yourself and how you feel about yourself is what is the most important relationship you will ever have. Because if you're miserable in here and here and in here in your heart and your head, then you will never be able to bring joy to anyone else. And if you cling to someone so tightly to believe that they are your salvation or your validation or what will keep you from going over the edge, then you're climbing on cardboard boxes, a tower of boxes, and eventually one of them is going to collapse under the pressure because it can't sustain the weight of all that pressure you're putting on it. So, yeah, I was, and admittedly so. I was a stalker, in my youth, and not to the same extreme where I was breaking into someone's apartment or trying to break into their car or anything like that. But I was a stalker in the sense that I waited for her. I was looking out for her. I was making assumptions about what I was going to be for her and what I needed to do to endear myself to her, and having these fantasies in my head. I mean, not like crazy fantasies, but having these um, ill-placed imaginations that if I would do one thing that would cure whatever the woes were between us, and it just wasn't going to happen because the woes were the fact that I was smothering her. I was smothering her because I needed something to cling to, and she was the best and the only thing I had in my life. But it wasn't about Elle. It was about me and what I needed, and I wasn't thinking about her mental state, her sense of safety, her sense of happiness. I was thinking about mine, and that's the problem. Is if you are if you if and I know it's hard to do it, but don't hold to someone so hard because you need to be validated that you're loved and that you found someone. If you're having troubles in relationships, the best thing you can do is just tell the person you're there and then go and focus on you. I know it feels like you need to focus on the relationship, but you cannot focus on a relationship if you are miserable inside. There's no way you'll save a relationship of any type. Even if it's a budding relationship that's only 6 months old, you don't hold on to it tighter, which is what I was doing because of the reasons I've already shared, my own need for self-validation and all that stuff like that, but also because I believed in the back of my head that because it was so young and it was so new, that if I didn't hold on to it, if I didn't put a lot of work into it, that that it was crumble. So I had to put more work into it, which was the exact opposite. Because it was so young, it didn't require the same kind of time or effort you should put into if a marriage of 10 or 15 years is falling apart. The shorter the relationship, the shorter amount of effort you should put into making sure it lasts if it's that young. So if it's like less than a year old and you're struggling at that point and the relationship is not strong, it's time to just step back from it and say, okay, hear what the person is saying, what their concerns are. You're too smothering. I don't like your friends. I don't like your family. I don't. I don't have the same interests in you as you. Whatever else the case may be. It doesn't mean they're right. That your family's not nice. That your friends aren't nice. That their friends. That your job is shit. That your lifestyle is shit. It doesn't mean that at all. It means it doesn't match with them. And it's not your responsibility to make sure your lifestyle matches with them. And the more you believe that if you show them how good and heroic and whatever else you think the words are that make you seem like ideal for anyone, the more you try and make people think you are that way, the less you're present in the moment of what's really happening, right? You're not present in the moment. You're in a future reality that doesn't exist, that may never exist, and probably will never exist. Because, you see all these movies where like the guy is, pursuing the woman, and he'll come and save the day, and she'll finally realize she loves him. That's not reality, because in a lot of those cases, you're actually a psychotic. Okay, you're psychotic in believing you're going to convince them because of your heroic actions that you should be the one they love. Because are you going to go and stop a bus from crashing with a bomb every day? Are you gonna fight terrorists in a building and plunge through buildings and stop the big crime boss every day? I mean, how many heroic things can you do in your life before you get killed for being dumb? Are you gonna jump out of a plane? Are you gonna MacGyver it everywhere? Are you gonna Fonzie the whole world through? At some point, you have to live in reality of the moment. And yeah, I mean, if you're a daredevil, and if you're obsessed with doing crazy stuff on bikes, or on parachuting or whatever else, and I'm not talking about normal stuff, but crazy stuff, things that go beyond the normal use of these things, like skydiving or riding a motorcycle, dirt biking, whatever. If you cannot be a hero every day, and you should not want to be a hero every day. The times that you want your relationships with people to be the most valuable is when there's quiet, because you're going to have a great time when everything is exciting and you're both active and doing stuff, and you're going to dancing and going to dinners and restaurants, and riding in limos and jet setting and water skiing and skydiving and all that, rock climbing. All the things will be exciting then. But it's when you're at home and it's the evening, and it's like, what else are we going to do? You're going to watch a movie? Okay, let's watch a movie. And you enjoy that quiet time. Or you can go into another room and read a book, and they can go into this room and read a book, and you can exist together, but you don't need to be like stapled to one another too much. Because the more you cling to someone, then the more you need them, and you always need them, and you'll have no independence, and you will be smothering them, and you will be making yourself dependent on someone else. It's not the same as drug addiction or alcohol abuse, but it's very similar, because you need them as a crutch to survive. And when you need something as a crutch, you put too much into it, and then you can smother it. You can damage the relationship because they don't feel like they've got room to breathe. It's a very scary thing. That's why you shouldn't be possessive of people. That's why you shouldn't fight to hold on to relationships that are dying. Do your best in a relationship. Look, I'll go to therapy. I really believe in this relationship. I believe in what we're doing. If you want to go to a therapist and talk to a therapist, I'll do that. Which I think Elle actually wanted me to go to a therapist. I think we went to a therapist one time. Um, so she was serious about wanting to survive the relationship, but I wasn't in the place where I could do it. And it was my failures, and I'm sure she feels her failures, but I feel my failures deeply in it. And I hope she's happy now wherever she is. But just don't do that to yourself, in anything, in any relationship, business or personal. Don't push the relationship just because you see people pushing all the time. You get pushed to make the sale, push to make the sale. There are limits to when you push something too far, that you will actually damage yourself, and you'll damage the relationship, because they will feel like you will not leave them alone. Okay, you will make them feel uncomfortable. You'll make them feel nervous. They'll feel like you'll never leave them alone. They'll feel like you'll always be up their butt, and they don't. Nobody wants anybody all the way up their butt all the time. It's just not healthy. And in relationships where people are up each other's butts all the time and they're constantly fighting and bickering, those aren't healthy relationships. Sometimes people stay in relationships that are unhealthy for them, and look at what happens in the end. People try to kill each other. They have constant affairs. There's abuse on one side or another, verbal, physical, emotional, whatever. So don't push yourself on anyone to validate yourself, because you're already significant enough. You've got to stop worrying about trying to um, trying to convince someone that you're worthy. You need to know that you're worthy for yourself. Find the validity in yourself, because that's the only place that you will ever find the greatest sense of validation and self-respect is in yourself. Um, don't think you're better than other people, because that's not going to help you at all. But realize that you have value, you have something to offer, and that if you have this to offer, that maybe one day, if the time is right, and that's a hard thing to hear sometimes, one day, if the time is right, because people are like, I want it now, I want it now, I want it now. And that's how relationships fall apart, because you want it here and now, and it doesn't work that way. Relationships evolve as they are supposed to evolve. Okay? You may know someone for a couple of years and you never thought of each other as romantic interests, and then suddenly one day, hey, let's go out to dinner. You know, I really do have a good time with you. And that things evolve. But don't let things happen, and be happy in your life and with what you're doing with yourself. And anything that you add to it, whether it be a relationship or a new job or whatever, make sure it complements your life and it gives you joy and satisfaction at the end of the day. Because if you're constantly stressed out about things, you will be miserable, and you will make everyone else around you miserable. All right, take care of yourself. God bless. Be safe and be considerate. I hope this offered some value to you if you're watching this at some point. And God bless. See ya.